You don't avoid noise because you're shy. You avoid it because your mind notices too much. Picture this: a room full of people talking at once, laughter overlapping, opinions being thrown like confetti. Someone is always performing, explaining, filling the air. Most people call this being alive, but your body tightens, your jaw locks. Your energy drains faster than you can explain. And then comes the question, why are you so quiet? Let's be honest. That question is rarely curiosity. It's discomfort. Your silence confronts something most people are running from. The world assumes that silence means emptiness. Psychology says the opposite. Here's the truth. No one tells you. People with higher cognitive depth, emotional sensitivity, and pattern recognition don't experience noise as neutral. Their nervous system processes everything. Tone shifts, micro-expressions, contradictions, emotional undercurrents. What feels like normal stimulation to others can feel like psychological static to you, so you withdraw. Not because you lack something, but because you're protecting something. And here's the twist. Your silence isn't a personality quirk. It's an adaptation. Some people speak to regulate anxiety. Others stay quiet to stay regulated. Your brain is constantly scanning, integrating, cross-checking. You're not absent, you're processing. If this is already hitting somewhere uncomfortably familiar, pause for a second. Notice your breathing. Notice if your shoulders dropped just a bit when I said you're not broken, because this video isn't about romanticizing introversion. It's about exposing a psychological truth that's been mislabeled for decades. And before we go any deeper, if this resonates with you, make sure to subscribe. Here we go deeper without anesthesia. What most people call noise isn't just sound. It's emotional noise, social noise, expectation noise. And intelligent minds don't ignore noise, they feel it. The cortex is analyzing while the amygdala is scanning for threat. Your system doesn't shut off just because the room is loud. It ramps up, which is why silence feels like oxygen. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your preference for silence isn't antisocial, cold, or arrogant. It's neurological, it's emotional. And in many cases, it's the result of learning early that noise often meant chaos. Next, we need to talk about the science behind this, not pop psychology. Real nervous system logic. Most people think overstimulation is about weakness, about not being strong enough to handle noise, crowds. Input. Psychology says something far less flattering for the world and far more accurate for you. Your nervous system isn't fragile, it's precise. Here's what's actually happening. The human brain has a limited processing budget. Attention, emotional regulation, threat detection, all of it draws from the same system. But not every brain allocates that budget the same way. Minds with higher analytical depth, emotional attunement, and pattern sensitivity don't filter aggressively. They absorb. They notice inconsistencies, subtext, emotional leakage, the things people say with their mouth versus what their body is confessing. While others are enjoying the surface of the moment, your system is running diagnostics. The amygdala is scanning. The cortex is interpreting. The body is keeping score. This is why noise isn't just loud, it's expensive. Every laugh, every interruption, every meaningless comment forces your brain to evaluate. Is this relevant? Is this safe? Is this coherent? Is this honest? That constant evaluation burns energy fast. Neuroscience calls this a narrower window of tolerance. Not because it's small, but because it's refined. When stimulation exceeds that window, the nervous system shifts, not into panic, into conservation. Silence becomes regulation. This is also why intelligent, sensitive minds often disengage socially before exhaustion becomes visible. You've learned, consciously or not, that staying too long in overstimulation leads to irritability, shutdown, or emotional flooding. So you leave early, you speak less, you choose quiet over chaos, not avoidance, strategy. And here's something rarely said out loud. Many people need noise to avoid themselves. Constant stimulation keeps the internal world quiet. Silence threatens to expose unresolved thoughts, emotional contradictions, and self-awareness they're not ready to face. For you, it's the opposite. Silence doesn't activate anxiety. Noise does, because silence lets your system integrate. It allows the emotional brain and the rational brain to sync. It's where clarity returns, and this preference often didn't come from nowhere. For many, it formed early in environments where loudness meant unpredictability, where voices escalated, where attention came with emotional cost. The body learned that quiet equals safety. So now, as an adult, you trust silence more than performance. Before we move on, pause for a second. Check your body. If you feel a subtle sense of relief hearing this explained, that's not coincidence. That's recognition. Now comes the part most people never talk about. There isn't just one reason intelligent people choose silence. There are types. and each one carries a different history, a different logic, a different kind of strength. Which type will you identify with? Let me know in the comments. This helps you see yourself more clearly. There's a dangerous mistake people make when they talk about silence. They treat it like a single trait, as if everyone who prefers quiet is the same kind of person. They're not. Silence has different origins, different nervous system histories, different emotional logics. Let's expose the archetypes. And as you listen, don't rush to identify with just one. Most people carry fragments of several. The first archetype is the hypervigilant observer. This is the person who enters a room and instantly knows who's tense, who's performing, who's lying to themselves. You don't scan consciously. Your body does it for you. Your silence isn't shyness, it's vigilance. At some point early in life, your nervous system learned that attention was survival, that moods could flip without warning, that tone mattered more than words. Loud environments weren't playful, they were unpredictable. So your system adapted. You learned to stay still, to listen more than you spoke, to gather information before revealing yourself. Now, as an adult, your silence looks like calm, but inside, there's constant data collection. You notice micro shifts others miss, and noise overwhelms you because it multiplies variables you already track intensely. Your strength is that you see reality clearly. Your cost is that you rarely feel fully at rest around others. The second archetype is the emotional economist. This type understands, often unconsciously, that energy is finite. You don't talk just to talk. You don't react just to react. Every word costs something. Every interaction requires emotional labor. And you learned, maybe after being drained too many times, that not everyone deserves access to your inner world, so you can serve. Silence becomes a form of intelligence, a boundary without confrontation. People mistake this for coldness, but the truth is, you feel deeply. That's exactly why you're selected. You've experienced emotional overextension, being the listener, the regulator, the one who holds space while neglecting yourself. Now you choose quiet over depletion. Your strength is discernment. Your cost is that people rarely realize how much depth you're withholding. The third archetype is the survivor of chaos. This silence was forged, not chosen. You grew up in noise, emotional, verbal, psychological, raised voices, constant tension. A household where being loud meant conflict, not connection. Your body learned something crucial. Silence equals safety. So now, even when life is calm, your nervous system still trusts quiet more than excitement. Loud personalities feel invasive. Chaotic environments trigger something ancient in you, even if you can't explain why. You don't hate people. You hate dysregulation. Your silence is your nervous system saying, I'm not going back there. Your strength is self-protection. Your cost is that you sometimes confuse peace with isolation. The fourth archetype is the depth-oriented thinker. This type suffers in superficial environments. Small talk feels like friction. Performative enthusiasm feels dishonest. Conversations that never go anywhere feel exhausting. Your mind wants meaning, coherence, integration. So you stay quiet not because you have nothing to say, but because most spaces don't invite what you actually think. You don't speak until something feels true enough to release. Your silence is an absence. It's incubation. Your strength is clarity and originality. Your cost is that you often feel unseen in a world that rewards noise over insight. The fifth archetype is the one who spoke too much once. This silence is earned. There was a time you explained yourself, overshared, tried to be understood, tried to connect through words, and it backfired. You were misunderstood, exposed, dismissed, or emotionally unsafe, so you adjusted. Now you speak less not because you lack courage, but because you learned that not everyone listens responsibly. Silence became a filter, a way to protect your truth from careless hands. Your strength is wisdom. Your cost is loneliness that few people suspect. Here's what matters. None of these archetypes are defects. They're adaptations. Your silence is not a lack of social skill. It's the result of a nervous system that learned something important about the world. And now comes the real shift in perspective, the part most people never reach. The world is loud because it's dysregulated. People feel silence, not because they have something to say, but because quiet exposes them. Here's the real inversion most never grasp. In an overstimulated culture, silence is not withdrawal, it's discernment. When dopamine is constantly hijacked by notifications, opinions, outrage cycles, and performative connection, the nervous system loses its ability to integrate experience. Most people live slightly outside their window of tolerance, restless, reactive, externally driven, so they make noise. They talk to self-soothe. They distract to avoid feeling. You don't. Your silence gives your system something rare: integration. This is where the emotional brain and the rational brain reconnect, where intuition sharpens instead of numbing, where patterns emerge instead of dissolving into chaos. Here's the part that usually hurts to hear, but matters. Many people will never understand you, not because you're superior, but because your nervous system is calibrated differently. You don't bond through constant stimulation. You bond through presence. You don't trust volume. You trust consistency. You don't confuse intensity with intimacy. And yes, this comes with a cost. You will often feel out of sync in groups. You may be labeled distant, intimidating, or detached. You might question whether something is wrong with you. Here's the truth. Nothing is wrong with you. Your silence is not emptiness. It's containment. It's where you metabolize emotion instead of projecting it, where you choose response over reaction, where you refuse to participate in noise that asks you to abandon yourself. Here's the real reason why you always felt too much or too little in relationships. You were never built for shallow bandwidth. You were built for depth. And depth doesn't shout. Most people quit right here, exactly when emotional clarity would begin. If this is resonating, it's not coincidence. It's your body recognizing a truth it's lived for a long time. So I'll leave you with this. What if your silence isn't something to fix, but something to honor? In which moment of your life did silence first feel safer than noise? If this reflection helped you see your psychology with less guilt, share it with someone who needs to understand this. And don't forget to subscribe. We go deeper every day. The psychology unseen isn't just a channel, it's a mentality.